Richard Aborn, who is the president of the Citizens Crime Commission. He also advises police departments, criminal justice agencies, corporations, and nonprofit organizations in the United States and Europe, and he is a former assistant district attorney. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure, man.
You've been asked a few million times today about your reaction, but let's start with this. Should we look at this trial just as one individual trial, or is this part of a greater theme, a greater story?
It probably depends on where you stand to answer that question. I think different people have different answers to that. I think from a narrow standpoint, you have to look at this as one trial, a case where the prosecutor took a long time to investigate, put the case into a grand jury over a very long period. The case then went to trial after its due course, and the court reached a verdict. So that's an isolated incident. But I suspect if you are black in this city, you don't look at it as an isolated incident. You wonder why it is black men that often get shot in these sorts of circumstances. So there are broader questions to discuss, and we need to be very sensitive to that. But in and of itself, this is a single incident, and that's how we have to view this verdict. We have to look at it on the law, the facts that were presented, and the decision of the judge, and reflect on that.
Before we get to the emotional aspect of it, obviously there's a tremendous amount of emotion involved in this. You have looked at the numbers as far as police shootings in this city compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, compared to other cities. What are they?
It's good news. It may be hard to believe today because of all the shots that were fired in the Bell shooting, but police shootings in this city have gone down year after year after year, and not only are they going down year after year after year in this city, but New York is actually doing better than almost any other police department in the country. And I think there are a variety of reasons for that, and that really is information to celebrate. We should be very pleased with that. The police department is doing very well. They are doing everything they can to reduce shootings. Are we done? No. Are there other things they can do? Yes. But we are absolutely on the right track.
Does the fact that two of the officers are men of color, does that change the equation here in terms of reaction, which has been intense and passionate, obviously, in the aftermath of the verdict today, and in the process of this whole entire trial?
Let's be honest, probably. Right. I think if all the officers had been white, with the defendants being, the victims being of the color they were, it probably would have been a much more racially charged atmosphere. I think that's probably true, and I think we need to be honest about that. Yes, we had black officers involved in this. I think, though, some people ask the question, do the police react differently if they see a black individual versus a white individual? And I think that's a question that cops themselves have to answer. I think the answer is probably not. I think these are highly trained cops. In this case, they could have done some things differently. But in terms of criminal culpability, there was none, and the court found that. The court found that what they did, as tragic as it was, and this is a tragedy in the truest sense of the word, what they did was justified. And once the court reaches a decision that the shooting was justified, all the charges fall away.
So you're saying you think that that police officers, when they see something in a split-second situation, and as I said just a few minutes ago, I respect the difficulty of that, although I've never been in that position, so I can't imagine what it's like, that they do not see a person's color.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Can you understand the reaction in the black community?
Of course.
Come on.
Of course. And I said that when I first started speaking.
Yeah.
I think your reaction to this case depends very much on what color you have. I think black individuals will see this case very differently than the white community, and that's what makes this conversation difficult. But we need to be candid about this conversation. We can't hide behind political correctness and be afraid to talk about what are very real, emotional, very difficult issues. We need to reach to each other in this case. This is a classic case where we really need to reach out and really understand the perspective of each other in this case if we're really going to have a true understanding of all the emotions that are involved in this.
We've got a few hundred phone calls and emails. Let's start off with some. Bruce in Harlem joins us to begin. Bruce, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Bud.
Hi.
I just want to know, what do I tell my 6-year-old daughter? I mean, you tell your children, if you're in trouble, run to a policeman. And it's like, well, Daddy, is the policeman going to shoot me? She's scared to death now. When is it all going to end? When is the nightmare going to end?
I think it's a very realistic question. I understand the tension. In one of the interviews that you did at the beginning of the show, a young black woman said, I'm afraid. When's it going to stop? I'm afraid. She wasn't saying, I'm afraid of crime. She was saying, I'm afraid of the police. So we really have to work on changing that. The reality is that the NYPD has done an extraordinary job of driving crime down in this city to levels that we have not seen since the 1960s. You know the phrase, I wish we were back in the good old days? We are back in the good old days in this city. Crime is very, very low, and it's not just in isolated areas of the city. Crime across the whole town has gone way down. We can drive it down further. There's still more things we can do, but crime is going down. But there still is this tension, and we hear it from this caller, between some people in the African-American community and some of the police. And we need to keep addressing that. Again, we need to be honest about that. I think he should tell his daughter that every single cop out there is doing a job. They are putting their lives on the line every single day to protect strangers, people they don't know. They are true public servants. Every single day they can be shot and killed. Sometimes they make mistakes, there's no question about it. But they're out there putting their lives on the line for all of us, and they know very few of us. So I think he tells his daughter, you can trust cops, you can go to cops, get to know the cops. And that's one of the things I hope we get to talk about tonight, which is how do we get to know each other? How do we get to know the cops? How do the cops get to know the community?
All right, let's take a break.